All right. Feels good to be back, man. Another episode of Super Podshots. So much has transpired over the last week. I don't even know where to begin. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for stopping out on this late Friday evening for another episode of Super Podshots. The hurricane has passed. I'm just very glad and very happy that we haven't had any major disasters where I live. No one was hurt, no one was injured, no one lost any property. So very very happy about that whole situation. My heart goes out to those who have lost things. Um, besides just loved ones, homes, family, things like that. It's a terrible situation for so many people. The worst thing that happened to me was that I lost power for 48 hours. And as terrible as I feel that was, because clearly I'm a little bit, I guess you could say, I wouldn't say I'm not uh, in tune with reality, but clearly me being upset over some heat exhaustion from this Florida weather and not being able to have light or power to play games or anything like that is a little superficial. Um, and a bit frustrating. Obviously, I was more concerned for my kids, but man, just thinking about everybody that's been affected, just it's terrible. So, it's a tough situation for so many people. I hope a lot of people recover, and I'm just glad that nobody that I know or nobody in the area, has been terribly affected by these things. So listen, man, a lot of things happened over the week. Wasn't able to find out exactly what happened with Pewdiepie during that situation because I had no power. Wasn't able to find out anything, but I did find out once everything kicked in, and I did some assessing. A lot of people had a lot of uh, opinions and a lot of judgments about what was said, how it was said, the way he said it, and I try to stay level-headed with these things. One of the things that I don't do when it comes to gaming and it comes to the people that listen to Tick podcasts and it comes to the people that follow us is I don't touch three things. I don't touch religion because a lot of times when you touch those things, faith is something that people do not bend on. This is something that's ingrained in you. You are raised in it. This is your belief. And when you have faith, there's nothing that can break that faith. Politics is so divisive. It can really affect so many people. You can go one way or another in someone's belief in the way they think things should be governed or the way people should be responding could really have an effect on friendship, loved ones. It's out of control. And in today's climate, it's even crazier. And of course, race. I don't touch those things. Those are just things that I don't touch because everybody has different opinions and in different aspects of the way they believe in things, as well as myself. I like to keep those things personal, into my own personal taste, and try to just keep the gaming 100% all the time because that's what you guys come here to listen to get away from all of that nonsense. But when those things enter gaming, sometimes you kind of have to go into that realm to kind of discuss it and kind of give your opinion on things, and that's what I'm going to do tonight. So let's go ahead and start the show. I want to talk about this new Xbox tech that Digital Foundry just did a whole, I guess you could say, interview and information release on, which is just huge in my opinion for Xbox. As well as Grand Theft Auto making history. Big deal for Grand Theft Auto 5 today. A lot of stuff going on. So let's go ahead and start the show. You guys relax and enjoy tonight's conversation on Xbox and the industry. Here we go. Hey, DX Men and Exponites. You're now rocking with your boy KOR X Kal-El, the last son of Planet Xbox, and you're listening to Super Podshots. So listen, man, first and foremost, if you are a true Xbox fan, make sure you stop on by our hardcore Xbox group, the DX Men of the DX Mansion, or just the DX Men. Either way, you'll find us. You'll see that DX logo out there on Facebook. If you are checking us out from Facebook, make sure you go ahead and support and sign up there. We have one of the coolest groups out there. You don't have to worry about people harassing you, bothering you. Guys are straight hardcore Xbox guys. And it's really a great place for people to go find new friends, male camaraderie, female camaraderie, because we have actually female gamers in there, which is awesome. And people will truly enjoy themselves there. As well as if you're a big Forza fan, make sure you check out our group, the Royal Street Kings. There is no group out there better than the Royal Street Kings when it comes to Forza Horizon, and the things that we got going on over there. So make sure you sign up at those groups to participate, win prizes, and hang out with some of the coolest guys in Xbox. So Pewdiepie came out, and he was playing Call of Duty. And we all know how we get frustrated in Call of Duty. And you shoot somebody, you're like, dude, I hit him first. You wind up dying, this person doesn't die, and it becomes a very frustrating situation. And in this regard, you say things. You might curse. You say this is BS. You blame the game. You blame the controller. Something's wrong with my stick. You say all these other things. Pewdiepie happened to come out and say something that was derogatory toward a group of people, obviously the black community, and I guess you could say around the world. I understand that a lot of people feel like it really affects the American side of people mostly, and not other people around the world. And I really want to kind of put this into perspective that is not true. That is not true. It does affect other people around the world because that is a universal racial slur, no matter where you go. And clearly people understand that. This is a very touchy subject. And I'm not going to try to sugarcoat any of this. I'm not trying to defend PewDiePie, and I'm not trying to persecute him. My thing is with this situation is that there's two sides to this whole thing. And the problem that a lot of people tend to ignore, which he even recognized later on after his apology, is his status and how his status affects the gaming community that we play in, whether it's PC, whether it's PlayStation, whether it's Xbox, his influence on a younger generation of people who may not be black, people who are from the European side of the world, or the Eastern side of the world, are impressionable. And you have these fans that listen to you and follow you as one of the most popular YouTubers, in the world. So being able to come out and say these things, people could feel like it's okay to say, and especially in the States where we're in a climate where we are probably, I wouldn't say at our worst, obviously, but we're at a state where we're going backwards when it comes to race relations. And it's really been terrible. And it's really been something that has been disgusting all around. And it is hard to take in. Him saying this word has really struck a chord with so many gamers, and everybody's had to give their opinion on it, or say, well, he apologized, or say, well, he shouldn't have said those things, but you have to understand it was in the heat of the moment. My take on it is this, and this is what I'm taking out of it. There's two aspects to this situation. There's an aspect that a lot of people tend to not recognize from the black community, and there's an aspect that everybody outside of the black community doesn't understand. I'm going to try to explain this the best way I can and be as clear as I can, and trying to get people to understand, why people feel the way they are, and why some people don't have to give him slack, but I understand the reasons why he said it so casually. So PewDiePie obviously lives in a country where the African American population is probably, or the African population is probably 1% to nothing. Saying a word like that is normal because there is no repercussions for that person. There is no one to offend in that country in private. There's no one to offend where he comes from or where he was raised. And I'm pretty sure that was a normal thing for him to say. For him to casually come out to say it the way he did is something that he uses regularly. It's not something that, you just at the spur of the moment, you say this particular word and boom, oh, my bad, I made a mistake. No, the way that rolled off, the way it came out, the way it was condescending and derogatory, it was something that he does use and does use in a way to offend whoever he is, kind of pushing that word to, or pushing those statements to. The only difference is that in the heat of the moment, he said it out loud. And, with no repercussions, with no one to defend against that, with no one to correct him, that's normal. That is a normal thing for him to say. That is a normal thing for him to do. And he knows it's wrong, because if he didn't, he would have never responded so quickly to apologize. He would have never done that. Even if the apology was sort of, just a BS apology and lame initially, before going into a full-on apology later on. So for him, I completely understand how that can come out the way it did. Does that make him a racist? I don't know. I don't think he would be considered a racist by saying that word. You know what I'm saying? Being a racist is, I think a lot of people look at when you say the derogatory name for the African American, or shall I say a black person in general. Let me not say African American. I'm just used to it because I'm a black American. But when you have people that are offended by that word, and you hear that word regularly for the black community, they've taken it in, they've tried to flip that word over and use it in a way where it's not offensive. And a lot of people don't understand, why is it okay for this group of people to say it and this other group of people not to say it? And this is like completely off gaming at this point. It's like we're completely away from gaming. But the thing is that it's one of those things where it doesn't make sense. It just is what it is. And as lame as that sounds, that's just how it is. It's almost like if there was a female and another female calls her the B word. But they're cool with that. They're friends. They're able to call each other that because for them, that's the way they respond to one another. They're both females and they both feel comfortable enough to say that to one another, and in a way where that's an term of endearment to them as friends. But let a man call a woman the B word and she'd flip out and she smack that person. And I think every race does this. I think every race doesn't get offended when another person of that race calls them a racial slur, especially in a way where it's not so much a derogatory term, but they're having a normal conversation amongst each other. Because as stupid as this sounds, that person is also the racial slur. When you turn around and it comes from someone else, it's different. There's a history behind the word. It's a history with other races calling people a certain demographic this word. And when it comes out that way, people don't look at it the same as a term of endearment from somebody of the same race. They look at it as a derogatory term. So the reactions are completely different. And as dumb as that sounds, why isn't it fair for this group of people to say it and someone else to say it? That's just the way it is. That's just the way everything is. And I don't know why anybody would want to say it in the first place. I've literally tried my best to erase this word from my vocabulary, from the way I grew up and the way I was raised and things like that. But, at the end of the day, it does come out. I'm not going to sit here and lie. It does come out because that's the way I grew up. So, I think with PewDiePie, it was something that he apologized for. I feel like you should not have to rage over this. I feel like you shouldn't be upset over this. I feel like you should understand why it's so easy for him to say it. And if you don't like that, don't support him. I don't watch his content anyway. And the best way to not support him is not to make hate videos and to go after the guy and curse him out and try to attack him physically. No, the best way to attack a situation like that is to not watch, not tune in. If you are truly against something like that, to teach someone a lesson. Now, he has 56 million viewers. I don't think that's gonna, if you don't watch, that may not make a dent. But if a few million people don't watch, that may make a dent. That may make him notice. And if more people step away from his shenanigans, then more people will have an impact on it. Money talks. And when you start losing money, you start losing endorsements, you start losing these things, people tend to try to change and make themselves better. And I think that's something that, he wants to try to do, but his reality is different from our reality. So again, I'm not defending what he said. I'm not defending any of his actions. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. I understand how easy it was for him to say it, and I get that aspect. But I also understand that is a derogatory term. It's not cool. And a lot of people shouldn't be hung up on, well, you hear it all the time, and it's casual, and it's a comfortable word, and you hear it in rap music. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. You just have to be able to respect what, however these people feel, because if you don't care about how that particular person feels and how that particular person is affected because of the history of words. Words do hurt. People want to act like words don't hurt, but they do. I'm no social justice warrior or anything like that. But the reality of it is words do affect people in different ways. And we see how this is affecting everybody across the world and across the country. And it's been crazy. So, the best thing to do, in my opinion, is to just not support. And that's how you affect people. You don't like something, you don't support. You want to do something positive, you talk about these things in your video. So that way you can make the uneducated educated, and you can isolate the stupid. And that's how you win. And you have to be able to communicate that in a clear way that people understand. You're not trying to get them to come on your side and be with you 100%, but you're trying to get people to feel empathy, to try to feel how you feel, so that way they can have an understanding of something they will never understand. And it's hard to find a comparison on that level. But if people can empathize with your emotions, then they'll understand why it's important not to say certain things or react a certain way or do certain things. So really important, man. Really important that we treat each other better overall as people in general. I say this all the time, man. If aliens came from outer space, bro, ain't nobody thinking about race. We're thinking about human survival. We're out here trying to survive annihilation and being eliminated from the planet. So, it's just weird because we don't have something to put us in a situation where it's all about the survival of life. Right now, we're in a situation where the color of someone's skin or the way someone acts is more important in the judgment of that person than who that person is as an individual. And a few bad apples in someone's race pretty much supersedes the entire race overall. And that's something that we need to definitely fix and grow up from, and truly understand that, a small percentage of someone's race does not affect the entire race of that people. And no, we're all not the same. And no, we all don't believe the same things. And that's how you should live your life, man. Everybody is different. Everybody believes different things, and everybody supports different things. And I think that's really important as we go forward in life and in gaming. Hopefully he fixes his issues and he's more aware of his surroundings and things like that. But I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't rage. That's just my opinion and thoughts on it. Anyway, moving on. So Microsoft, man, they got this new technology and they are really killing the game when it comes to what they're trying to do as a video game manufacturer, as a console manufacturer. They are really, really stepping their game up. And what I mean by that is that when you look at what Microsoft is doing overall, they've went out, they did some negative things that affected a lot of people. We already know about the cancellation of games. We already know about the closing of studios. We already know about the disaster when it came to the reveal. But ever since then, they've been little bit by little bit, they've been trying to take these little steps. And every once in a while, they take a big step. And that big step makes a lot of noise. And we all pay attention. And it makes what Microsoft is doing look better and better and better. And people are starting to take notice. So Microsoft has now put out this thing where let me find the word first. I don't want to just spit it out. I want to make sure that what I'm saying is the right thing. Okay, so Microsoft has this new tech that saves hard drive space and reduces download times called intelligent delivery. Now, basically, if you don't understand what this is, Microsoft has now designed a way for us to get video game data broken up into chunks. Meaning, if you only want to play Call of Duty's campaign first before you play multiplayer, you can only download the campaign. You don't have to download the multiplayer. You can take the first 15 gigs of Call of Duty, start the match, and play it without downloading the other 50 gigs of the game. Or once you're finished with the campaign, you can delete that and then install the multiplayer. You can install the 4K assets and don't have to install the other assets that come with the game. Or if you have an Xbox One, you don't install 4K at all and you only install the base part of the game. It's such a smart way to do things. And it really, really, really is going to be huge for the Xbox One X and the Xbox One, because so many of us invested so much into terabytes and external hard drives. And the bigger these games get, the more memory they take up. If you think about a game like Halo Master Chief Collection, which is probably like 99 gigs, it's like 98 gigs, it's like 100 gigs on that game. You can actually uninstall probably each game by removing a chunk. Well, I already beat the first remastered Halo, so I'm going to remove Halo Combat Evolved and just keep Halo 2 and 3. Oh, I finished 2. I'm done with 2. Just remove 2, but keep 3 and 4. That's huge. That is huge. That they are really giving you the option to pick and choose what you want to install based on what you want to play and how you want to play it. I can't praise Microsoft enough for delivering their games this way. This is going to be huge for the Xbox One. I think about on the Xbox One X, excuse me. I think about Forza 7. Forza 7 is already slated to be over 100 gigs. We're talking about the base game being like 50 or 60 gigs plus an additional 40 or 50 gigs in assets for 4K textures. This is nuts. This is insane. So you want to think about this for 1 second. Instead of installing the full game, you can install the full game with only 4K textures off the rip. And don't have to worry about installing the Xbox One part of that game, which could probably cut that in half or cut it down to about, instead of it being, let's say 100 gigs, it'd be like 60 gigs or maybe 70 gigs. That doesn't sound like a lot, but if you save 30 or 40 gigs, bro, when the next game comes out or the next indie game comes out or the next online game comes out that's only about 12 or 15 gigs, you have the room for it. Destiny 2 is like 36 or 30 something gigs. That's enough room for Destiny 2 by itself. And that's an online title. So I really think it's really smart what Microsoft is doing. And I think it's very innovative. I don't think Microsoft gets enough credit for their innovation. And I really truly believe they deserve a way more respect in the industry for the innovation that they've brought to video games. They really deserve it. They really, truly do. Really impressed with what they are trying to do. And I just think that overall, Microsoft is on their A game. All they need now is to continue to develop either new studios or produce new games. Now, there's word going around after Digital Foundry came out and talked about the canceled Xbox RPG that they were trying to come out with right at the end of the life cycle of the Xbox 360 and trying to push that into the Xbox One, where it actually failed because the game became, I guess you could say, too big for its own good, thanks to the Don Matrick team. and they wind up canceling the game. It was going to be made by Obsidian, which is a really good studio. It's kind of disappointing, but I heard they're back together and working on some stuff. But with that being said, that relationship kind of deteriorated. Things have been fixed. And now I'm hearing they're back in talks about some projects. And one of the things that they stated was that Microsoft is right now, as we speak, looking to work with independent studios for big AAA projects. And again, that's great. That is absolutely great that Microsoft is looking to invest in more IP and invest in studios and independent studios. And that's great. It's great for two reasons. It's great for one, they're making the effort to find talented independent studios not owned by other publishers. And two, it gives them the opportunity to make a purchase of said studio if the studio develops a hit, like the guys over at PUBG. That is huge to me. It's really big. Microsoft could mess around. If PUBG continues to take off for a second, just think about this. Let's say PUBG continues to take off. This thing blows up and it's massive. It's 100, it's a million people on PC. It's like 4 million people on Xbox or whatever the numbers are, whatever crazy number it is. If Microsoft says, you know what, this is just too good to pass up. I mean, they've already spent, $1 billion or $2 billion on Minecraft, and they've easily recouped that back. They easily recouped that back already. PUBG could be that next studio. And right now, none of those games are anywhere else other than Xbox and PC. Microsoft has the opportunity, if they wanted to, if this game is a success on the Xbox and has the longevity that people are looking for, they have an opportunity to buy the PUBG studio and own that studio. That's why publishing the game is so important for Microsoft. Now, the game's not exclusive. It's timed exclusive. I just want to make that clear because a lot of people are confused. It is timed exclusive. Right now, they have not come out and said anything about it releasing on PS4, but they have not locked it up. Right now, it's coming out for Xbox One in 2017. It could be, with a publishing deal, it could probably be an entire year before that game comes out on a PS4 or the Nintendo or something like that. So right now, it's a console exclusive on the Xbox One. If the game pops off within the next year, Microsoft has the opportunity to make an offer to the studio. And the studio has an opportunity to say yes. So to me, that's great. That is absolutely amazing. The problem with working with third party is that you still have to be able to convince them to want to be bought. That's the problem that they had with Remedy. Remedy has been a studio that's worked with Microsoft for years. From Alan Wake to what we have now with Quantum Break, they've worked with Microsoft for years. DLC, American Nightmare. And Microsoft can't buy Remedy because Remedy don't want to be bought. They like their independence. But you can bump into a studio like the PUBG guys that's new. They don't really have a history yet. They have their foot in the door, and right now it's an explosion. It's an explosion of excitement. It's an explosion that Microsoft is helping them publish. Microsoft is giving them some of their technology, allowing the water from Sea of Thieves to be implemented into PUBG. That's huge. I don't think you'll get that water in the PlayStation version. I'm pretty sure that's Microsoft-owned water effects. That's proprietary water effects from Rare and Microsoft. So allowing the PUBG, the Microsoft published game, to get those effects in the water, in my opinion, I heard is really huge because I heard the water was pretty bad in the PC version. So being able to see Microsoft make this move with this team, I can see them making this move with other teams. I'm hearing they're trying to work again with Obsidian on other projects. I've already heard about them working on another game with a writer who has this amazing novel called The Dark Tower. Not The Dark Tower. The hell am I talking about? That's Stephen King. There's a game, I forget what it's called, but it's something dark. I have to look it up. But there's a game that they're working on with this guy as well. And that is a project that he actually came out himself and talked about. So Microsoft is looking for single player experiences. They are looking for independent studios they can work with. They are looking to make the next big AAA game, and all that's going to take time. Obviously, they've laid the foundation. Fans should be excited about this. You have your services locked up in place. You have the Xbox Game Pass locked up in place. You got a new console that's probably going to rock out for the next 3 or 4 to 5 years. PS5 will release, and I'm pretty sure right after that, Microsoft will come out with the next iteration of the Xbox, which I codename Honey Badger, because I just don't think they give a shit. I just really don't at this point. I think Microsoft realizes how the fans are going crazy over the power of the X, and they're never going to take a step back. Never. They're like, for $500, this is what has happened. The Xbox fans, it's true, God honest truth, the Xbox fans have convinced Microsoft that if they put a console out for $500, they will buy it. That is the price point from now on. Like, if you ever think Microsoft is going to drop below $500 on any console going forward, you are sadly mistaken. Microsoft, from now on, I'm telling you, from now on, we have opened. It's almost like when DLC first came out, and all of us was like, "I'll never buy no DLC. Nah, this is a ripoff. I had to buy the DLC to beat the game, or all the costumes in Street Fighter are DLC. What happened to beating the game and unlocking new costumes, or the way someone looks, or unlocking new characters? Now you got to buy the characters." And for years we've said, "Nah, we're not. I'll never do that. I'm not buying no DLC. I'm not buying no Game Pass." And yet, every year, millions and billions are made on DLC because there's people out there that buy it. And as much as we say we're not going to buy it, people are buying it. Destiny ripped off a generation, releasing the same crap for almost the same price, back to back to back. And yet, Destiny 2 is already doing extremely well and sold extremely well. And when they release that new DLC, people are going to buy it. They haven't learned their lesson from the first time they bought Destiny. Lesson? I feel like Allen Iverson. Practice. We talking about practice, like lessons. We talking about lessons right now. Gamers know nothing about lessons. Like, what are we talking about right now? Nah. People are going to go buy it. So when Microsoft dropped the Elite controller, people bought it. They said, "Oh my God, we can release a premium product and make it a premium product with some of the best tech that we can and the best hardware and sell it for almost $150, and people will buy it." Millions of people, 1 million people bought the Elite controller. What else can we make at a premium price and sell? And we have the Xbox One X. And the goddamn thing sold out in almost 24 to 48 hours, at least the Scorpio edition. So it's just one of those things where, Microsoft have put this Pandora's box out, and the Xbox gamers found the key and opened it up. And now it's open. So you can expect every console going forward to be $500. They're never going to drop the price below that. And I don't think Microsoft will ever put themselves in a position of being the second most powerful console again. I think this has been an experience that they don't never want to experience again. God honest truth. They don't never want to experience this again. So yeah, I think when PS5 comes out, it's going to be amazing technology because Sony is really good, for whatever shortcomings they may have, whatever people believe, they're really good when it comes to making hardware. I mean, when they kind of dot the T's and when they cross the T's and dot the I's, they're pretty much on point with it. So much respect goes up to Sony as a hardware manufacturer. They're really amazing at what they do. It's just one of those things where, people just have to understand that that's just how it is. Hey guys, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Apologies. So my thing is, Microsoft is on point with it, and I just think that when the Honey Badger comes out, which is like I said, what I call the next Xbox, Honey Badger is going to drop in, people will buy it, and it's going to be nuts. It's going to be bananas. But Microsoft has to be able to make sure that they have the games going forward. Anthem is going to look amazing on it. I think Metro X is going to look amazing on it. A lot of great games coming out next year. Some surprises. Definitely excited about it all. I'm definitely hyped about it. Even Bethesda, I heard, got a surprise game coming out at the end of the year. So I'm looking forward to what they show. I don't know what it's going to be. I really don't. If it's a Game of Thrones game, then all right. I don't think I'd be blown away by that. But if it's something new, like really something new, I'd be super hyped. I like Bethesda. Bethesda's cool. I'm not Anchorman though. Don't get it twisted. I'm not no Bethesda fanboy like that. I'm a BioWare fanboy, but still, much respect to Bethesda because I love Skyrim. It's one of my favorite games of the generation. Moving on. So, listen, guys, Grand Theft Auto, the best-selling video game in history. Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, I'm going to read this because I don't want people to get confused on what's happening with Grand Theft Auto being the best game in history. But according to NPD, the claim comes with a small asterisk. It only tracks sales with the United States, and the organization does not have access to details regarding the game's digital sales. It doesn't have access to digital sales. It's only retail and only in the United States. But according to that, Grand Theft Auto's impressive accomplishment. The game launched in 2013 on the PS3 and the 360. It has now been It's been on the market for 49 months and has achieved 41 top 10 chart appearances, 16 more times than any other single title in reported history. That is insane. And my understanding is based on sales revenue, and there's another plus, like the number one game of all time. It's insane. It's insane. People are just eating up this Grand Theft Auto. They're just eating up the multiplayer. They're eating up. I'll be honest with you. I'm really impressed with what Rockstar has done with GTA. I really am absolutely impressed with what they have done with GTA. And I just really think that, it's just funny that when it comes to Grand Theft Auto, that they haven't even thought about making the next one yet, because people are so hooked on the multiplayer. It goes back to what Phil said before about game services, about multiplayer, and the impact multiplayer is having on the industry in comparison to what single player games have on companies. A studio like like Activision with Destiny 2 or PUBG. These games are service games because they're able to add on DLCs. They're able to put out events and services for people to participate in, and they can play the games long term. So it's just one of those things that I'm like super impressed with when it comes to Grand Theft Auto. All the praise goes to those guys, and I can't wait to see what they do with Red Dead Redemption. Very excited about Red Dead 3, I think it is. Yeah, Red Dead 3. And I do look forward to the next GTA. Whenever that releases or whenever that comes out, I'll definitely be in line to pick that up. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, guys. So moving on. Listen, we're coming up on the end. I'm going to do a Q&A. So guys, get your questions ready. I'm definitely excited to get a chance to talk to you guys. It's been a minute since I've done so. So listen, Phantasy Star was announced at the Nintendo Direct. Shout out to the Switch. I'm like really hype about the Switch. I don't know why. I used to be a Nintendo fanboy growing up as a kid. When I was in the what grade was I in when Nintendo came out? Sixth grade? Was it sixth grade? Yeah, I think I was like the sixth grade when Nintendo came out. I was Nintendo out. I had the Game Boy in black and white, which got stolen because, like a dummy, I took it to school in the fourth grade and put it in my desk. And when I came back, that thing was gone. Worst mistake I've ever made. But wind up getting an SNES for Christmas. I'll never forget. It was so amazing. So wake up Christmas morning, box under the tree. I unwrap it, and boom, there it is, the SNES. And I'm so hyped. I'm looking at the box. They got images of the Super Scope 6 on the back and Super Mario World and all these game stuff. I take it out. It's got that beautiful gray and purple on it. You know, I plug it up. It's got that fresh smell. You know how when you open up a new console, not the way it is today. You know, back in the day it was different. So you would take it out the box. It had all that foam, or that white foam around it. You unwrap everything. You had the controllers. You plug them in. And it had that fresh smell. And I remember popping in Mario for the first time. And that ding would come on before the music would start playing. But then the greatest surprise happened to me. My mother comes in the room and she's like, wait, you still have another gift. And I'm like, huh? Like, what? There's another one? And I go into the tree, and in the tree is a rectangular box. And I'm like, oh my God, what is this? And I grab it and I open up the box, and it is Mortal Kombat. And I lose my mind. Like, this is just the greatest thing ever. So I go to school and I'm talking about SNES and how amazing it is. And the Genesis guys are there. And we're going back and forth. And we're arguing. And when you're in the sixth grade, you're arguing about the dumbest things in the world. Why Mario was better than Sonic. Sonic can't swim. He needs air bubbles to breathe. But Sonic's super fast. Mario is slow. But Mario would hit Sonic with a fireball. It'd be all over. Sonic is trash. Like, we're going back and forth. Then it gets to the books. What? Sega's whack. All their books are in black and white. At least Nintendo puts their books in color. Like, like, I remember these things because I was so into it. This was my thing. You know what I'm saying? And but I wind up, as I got older, I wound up moving to PlayStation because I was impressed. I think the first game I ever played after being wowed by Chrono Trigger, by the way, on the SNES, I was wowed by a demo at my friend's house when I played Bushido Blade for the first time. Bushido Blade was so amazing. It was like one of the first fighting games with Samurais where you would attack a limb and you would actually lose the limb. And you could actually lose your fighting arm and wouldn't be able to attack. You'd just be standing there like a dummy until you got killed, or run away until, you know, you guys got tired of running from each other. So it just was crazy. And I just remember being really excited about PlayStation, the first PlayStation. And by the way, shout out to Ape. Think about, even though the Mortal Kombat of the Genesis version people say was better, the SNES version looked better. The Genesis version was better because it had blood in it, but the SNES version had a blood code that you couldn't unlock the blood. So I will still give that the SNES version was the better version than the Genesis version because you could unlock the blood. Even though, you know, when you got the game, it was kind of like sweat that would fall off. If you put the code in, then blood would appear and you have blood in the game for the rest of the game. So to me, I thought that was dope. But anyway, I digress. So listen, so long story short, I get into PlayStation and I'm like, man, PlayStation is the jump off. I never get a 64. I missed the whole 64 generation. So I know nothing about Banjo, Conquer. I know nothing about Mario 3D. Like I know nothing about these games. I don't know anything about WCW versus NWO and all the wrestling games that were popular. I know nothing about GoldenEye. I missed that. The Rumble packs. I missed that. All of it. But PlayStation was God to me. I mean, this is the first time I start playing Final Fantasy, and I'm buying all the Final Fantasies, and I'm picking up games like Chrono Cross, and I'm playing Legend of Dragon. I'm like, this is my JRPG experience. This is what gets me into any and everything Japanese. It wasn't the SNES. The SNES introduced me to RPGs. It was the PlayStation that got me hooked on JRPGs. So that's why I give a lot of props to PlayStation. And then, PS2 came out. I didn't have a PS2. I had a Dreamcast. And Dreamcast to me was absolutely amazing because it had that little cartridge that was the memory stick that you could play, but it actually, you can play it like little mini games on it. Skies of Arcadia being one of those really cool mini games you could play. And in Skies of Arcadia, you would play like, it was cool. It's kind of like one of those little, what's the name of those old school games? The Tiger games, like those little handheld black and white games, and you would press A to hit the ball, and you would see the dot move or whatever, like one of those really old school 80s type Tiger games. And it was like that. And you would play the game, and you would be able to collect like gifts on the memory card, plugged it back into the controller, which by the way was dope because like in games like 2K and games like NFL 2K and stuff like that, when you plug the cartridge in, it would give you the stats or like the health on the cartridge. It was so fire. Even on Sonic, you had those little Tamagotchi, like little blue things you used to save, and you would raise one on the cartridge. You can't tell me Dreamcast wasn't innovative. Dreamcast was ahead of its time, and that's partially thanks to Sega and partially thanks to Microsoft, who helped design that console. Anyway, Dreamcast dies. I pick up PS2. PS2 might be the greatest thing I've ever played. Like, just the greatest console I've ever played. But PS3, I got lost. They lost me with PS3. I wound up picking up a 360, and that was it. I just felt 360 was it. I mean, I hated the original Xbox, honestly, until I played Halo with one of my best friends, all my best friends, shall I say. And we went through Halo campaign together in co-op, and that's really what made me buy an Xbox. I just thought it was amazing. Then I got introduced to a whole entire different type of RPG in games like Baldur's Gate and Knights of the Old Republic and Jade Empire. Those were RPGs I had never experienced before because of playing all these Japanese RPGs. I had boxed myself in. And once I was able to get the Xbox and experience all these other type of games, I realized how narrow-minded I was. And that kind of opened me up to a smorgasbord of things. So I had the Xbox, the GameCube, the PS2, then, the 360, the PS3. I didn't buy the Wii. After GameCube, that was it. I didn't buy any. First of all, I wasn't buying any console that name was Wii. That was dead. If you could forget that, throw that out the window. But I definitely wind up picking up the PS3, which I'll never forget. My wife bought me a PS3 on my birthday with a Revis jersey. This is when the Jets were good. They were making the playoffs and going to the AFC Championship game and stuff. And my Jets was on fire. I had a Revis jersey, a Jets breaker, a PS3, and a brand new PS3, the slim one, not the big fat boy, like a slim one, plus another $100 in credit to buy any game I want. And I wound up buying Uncharted 2, Infamous. Oh man, what else did I get? Uncharted 2, Infamous, and something else. I can't remember what it was, but I had about 3 games and then some digital games. And I loved the PS3 overall. I just didn't like it more than 360. I just didn't like it. 360 was the ish. It was 360. I mean, I went through about 4 of them, but I couldn't get rid of them. I had to always get myself a 360. So anyway, so yeah, man, I just went on this whole rant, and I am completely off subject at this point. Long story short, Nintendo Switch is looking really interesting, and I'm thinking about picking up a Switch now. Fantasy Star Online is something that a lot of fans have been clamoring for the Xbox for a long time, and Fantasy Star is not coming to Xbox. But you know what it's releasing on? The Nintendo Switch. And to me, that is just madness. Who wants to play on the Switch online with these codes in this old school way, can and a wire to talk to people socially? This makes no sense to me. It's the same thing with Boss Key and Lawbreakers. It's like, Xbox Live is Xbox Live for a reason. This is the top place to play when it comes to multiplayer and social interactivity. This is the spot, and yet you choose the other platforms that, I don't want to disrespect the PS4 that way, but I will admit, it's slightly, in my opinion, based on my experiences, is not on the same level, in my opinion, as the Xbox when it comes to live. And I just feel like a game like Phantasy Star would be big if they were able to bring it to Xbox to the States. Even though the game is old as hell, it's very popular and it still does extremely well as an MMO. So, I mean, Microsoft is really stepping the game up when it comes to these PC games. You got games like Conan, which I just stopped playing because it was pissing me off once Destiny came out anyway. And games like Ark Survival Evolved. You got games like PUBG coming out. There's other RPGs I heard that's coming out soon, like MMOs and stuff like that coming out. Games like Final Fantasy 14, games like Phantasy Star Online deserve to be on Xbox, let alone the Xbox One X going forward. So hopefully, they're gonna skip the Xbox like most Japanese devs do. They're skipping the platform. They're gonna put it on Switch, and we'll see how that pans out. But hopefully, Microsoft, according to Aaron Greenberg and Phil Spencer, they are working with a lot of Japanese studios, and we're supposed to be getting some of those games. A lot of people feel like it's not important, and I get that. But in my opinion, as a guy who grew up on these things, who grew up on the SNES and grew up on the Sega Dreamcast and grew up on the PS2 and the PS1, I just feel like there's still a place for the Japanese developer. I still feel like they're important, and the diversity they bring to any platform is always a plus, regardless if you like it or not. And that's just how I feel. So we'll see what happens, man. I don't know what's going to go on going forward with more Japanese studios and stuff, but my understanding is Microsoft is doing their damnedest to make sure that the X is a success, that they start building the portfolios they need, and they're going to release a lot of nice big AAA games because of the Xbox One X, and they have the foundation to do it. So if another game flop, they could just move on from that game and create more stuff now that they got the Game Pass and Live is working and everything is going the way they want it to go. They got the new console out. Things are looking good for the console. They got the new way to install the technology. You guys got to see the new dashboard. If you don't have it, it's really, really nice. I like the way they have it set up. And all we doing now is waiting a few more months for the X to drop, and then a few more years and Honey Badger comes out. And I think people will trade in their Xbox One X's and their S's towards the Honey Badger. People will pick that up, and we'll be all excited for the next iteration of Xbox. And I think with the disaster of the first console, they will be ready to come out swinging and hopefully not mess up, because I think Microsoft, again, has a communication problem when it comes to trying to explain things about their technology and their hardware. There's always mixed messages. People are always misconstruing some of the things that is said. So if they can get this right when the next generation starts, we already know about the backwards compatibility of what they're doing with their hardware, where generations no longer exist. Everything will be able to transfer over, from one generation to another. We're talking about having 360 games, Xbox One games, and then the new generation games, 3 generations on one platform. Plus, they just introduced OG Xbox games coming back. So, man, you're talking about all the generations of Xbox on one platform going forward is huge. Huge, huge, huge for Microsoft. And if you own these games digitally, your stuff comes with you as attached to your account. I can't stress enough how important to me that is as a consumer. Anyone who feels that they don't care about that is a dumbass. You are. Who wastes that type of money? Why would you waste that kind of money? Why would you, oh, you just keep the console? For what? Why keep the clutter? Most people take their older consoles and put them in the closet. No one really has a PS4 sitting next to a PS3. Like, who does that? If you have an opportunity to have all your PS3 games on a PS4, would you not want that? The convenience of having everything in one place in one spot. Like, who does that? No one does that. You know who does that? Stubborn people. Fanboys do that. And I understand what Microsoft is doing. So hopefully people will be on the same page when it comes to what Microsoft is doing. They understand what they're doing. They'll come along for the ride. I think Microsoft is just only getting started, and definitely excited to see what they have coming out in the future. They just really cannot continue to mess up. You know, they've burned a lot of people. They've burned a lot of fans. A lot of people have been turned off, but a lot of fans are coming back. I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to see it. Every little news, every little piece of news that comes out about this X, man, they are really turning that frown upside down. All they got to do is get a few games. They get a few big AAA games in there. They got those nice indies coming next year. They got some good Japanese titles releasing with Code Vein and Dragon Ball and a few others. They on point. They are on point. So definitely excited about that. So listen, man, that's it tonight for the show. I want to thank everybody for stopping out. Greatly appreciate the support as always. I'm going to go ahead and answer any questions in chat and do a Q&A because I haven't done one in a while. And again, I will be back next week with another episode of Super Podshots. You can find Super Podshots on iTunes. Just look up Tick Podcast as one word and type in Apple or iTunes, and our content will pop up. We are also on Google Play, and we are on most of your podcast apps. So if you want to listen to us on the Xbox, you can listen to Tick Podcast and Super Pod Shots on Xbox by going to the App Store, downloading any app, the Cast app, the Podcast app, and search TIC Podcast as one word together, and we will pop up and just save us. And you'll get Super Pod Shots, a Tick Podcast, and like I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by the power. um, uh, you guys can find us on and Google, the Cast app and things like that. If you want to listen to us on the go, at work, while you're traveling, all these places are available to check us out and give us a listen. So we greatly appreciate your support there in that space, because we have so many fans that listen to us around the world, and very grateful for that. You can also check out TIC Network, TIC space network, and that's where you can find all of our other network shows, Iron Lord podcast, Double XP, which is our debate show, PlayStation versus Xbox, Multiverse podcast as well. And we are working on the Trophy Life podcast for the PlayStation guys out there who like to listen about PlayStation news, games, and content. We're looking at a new host right now, so you guys stay tuned for that. But if you want to listen to that content, which varies in both hosts and personalities, all good content, check out TIC Network. And for TIC podcast content, for Xbox only content, TIC podcast, one word. You can catch me, shall I say, next week, Friday at 11 p.m. for another episode of Super Podshots. I will try to upload these shows the following day on Saturday evenings. And tomorrow we have TIC Podcast with myself, Anchorman V, and B Money 101, representing Xbox, once again talking more Xbox and the industry with the Xbox fans. So I'm your host, KLR XKL, the last son of planet Xbox, and I'm off this planet. Peace. All right. So really appreciate everybody stopping out and hanging out. I'm going to go ahead and answer a few questions. TF God, shout out to Apex, shout out to T Mac, Sarasi, Zedpo1. Who else is in here, man? Shout out to Wills. I really appreciate you guys stopping in and hanging out with me tonight, man. And very grateful for all the support. Josh as well. Really appreciate that as well. William as well. All right, so let's see here, man. So first question is from Zebpo1. He asks, what do you think about game publishers trying to make their own subscription like Game Pass and PS Now? I think it's smart. Honestly, I think it's smart on their part. Everybody's not going to buy your game. Expensive to produce nowadays. It's a high risk, high reward type of situation. And I mean, and if the risk is missed, then you're not successful. And imagine putting, let's say 10 million into a game and only recouping 2 million, or only recouping 3 million out of it, or not recouping anything at all. You just gave away 10 million to build a game. You think about paying voice actors. You think about renting out studios to do motion capture work. You think about all the technology that goes into building game, man hours, time, the publishing of the game on different consoles, the ESRB, the distribution, the digital, like all of these things add up. They add up, and it costs millions upon millions to make games. But you know what doesn't cost millions? A Game Pass, where you can put a digital downloaded or a digital stream game in a service model for, let's say, $10 a month. And it doesn't sound like a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot of money, but if you get 1 million people to pay $10 a month, that's a lot of bread, bro. For an entire year, imagine getting 1 million people to pay $120 for an entire year. 1 million. That's a lot of money, bro. That is a lot of money overall. And that's what I think is smart with Xbox. Not only is it smart with Xbox, I think Game Pass is smart because you just told parents, instead of spending $60 for one game, you can spend $60 on Game Pass. And for 6 months, someone has access to 4 of the 500 games every month. Places like EA, which do a great job of presenting their games in a digital fashion where you get discounts, 10% off. You're able to get these games early in demos before anybody else. Plus, you have a vault system where you've been with the service long enough. After about 6 to 8 months, that game hits the vault. You never even have to play like you never even have to play Battlefield 1, and Battlefield 1 is there. You never have to play Titanfall 2, and Titanfall 2 is there. Live will probably be there in about half a year. So I think it's smart. I really do. As a business, it's genius. Honestly, will people like games as a service? No, because you go into the effect of the online. Everybody, you're relying on online. If you're paying for a service, like when I had no power, if you have no power, you have no internet service, that's wasted money. Every day is money that you spent, especially when you pay monthly. So if you just pay X amount of money for the month, you don't get those days back. You have no power for a week, you don't get that week back. It's just gone. That money is gone. So being reliant on the internet and reliant on those things and not having those games physically, yeah, it's a problem. It can be a problem. It definitely can. Or if your internet craps out because your towers went down, or there's some sort of issue in your neighborhood with the service, yeah, and you don't have the physical game, how can you play online? How can you verify? You just can't. You just can't. And the games are just stuck sitting there and you can't play them. So there's a downside to it, but it's a plus for the business and it's easy for the consumer to get access to. On the flip side, you're reliant on online, whether it's download or streamed. So, that's just one of the downsides to that. Sarasi says, I personally think that Cliffy B launched Lawbreaker on PS4 exclusive and PC is to prove to people that he doesn't need Microsoft and Xbox to help build another great game after Gears trilogy. I don't know, man. I just honestly think he saw numbers and figured more numbers means he has an opportunity for more success. As an independent studio, listen, if I'm an independent developer, me personally, now this is the difference between my fan side and my logical side. Logical side says release the game on a platform with the largest install base. Because out of 60 million people, your goal is to get about 2 or 3 million of that. You know what I'm saying? 30 million people, there's 30, if you have 30 million people, there's 30 million people missing. That's 30 million people who don't have an opportunity to play your game. Logically, it makes sense to do. PC and PS4 makes sense as an independent studio because you don't have a publisher. There's no money coming in. You're reliant upon your own funding. You're relying upon whatever finances you have as a studio to pump out your game digitally, and hopefully it's a success. And then you build from that success. And then you move the games over to the Xbox. And that's what's been happening. It's sad that a lot of Xbox games that were like Soma is coming to Xbox. So a lot of games that were on Xbox, that were on PS4 first, are now coming over after their success on either PS4 or PC, and now coming to Xbox. It comes late, but if you've never played the game or if you've never heard of the game, you have an opportunity now to play and be interested in this game. Money for that dev, and if they make more money, the next game they release will release across all platforms. So that's really important in that regard. And I don't want to say it's Cliffy. I understand he made some choice words. He said some things that was disrespectful to a lot of the Xbox fans and turned a lot of Xbox fans off. And I get that. He acknowledges it. We all acknowledge it. But I truly just think that he chose that platform because logically speaking, that was the right thing to do. Me personally, as a fan, I want to make it exclusive for Xbox because I just feel like they need a great exclusive. And I have an amazing idea for an amazing adventure game and a trilogy at that, over 3 games. I just have this thing I've been working on for 10 years, but I'm not a game developer. I would love to pitch this to Microsoft and just have them have it as an exclusive. But again, that's me as a fan of the platform and of the community and everything that Microsoft has done for us at Tick and things like that. So that's just me personally. But if I'm a studio, like if I have my own studio and I'm making it, if I can only choose one, yeah, logically speaking, you got to go with the bigger install base. It just makes sense, especially if you don't have the money or ask one of these manufacturers to publish your game. I feel like instead of saying, oh, we're not going to put your game on our platform, just go to Microsoft and say, hey, we want to put our game on there, but we don't have the money. Do you mind publishing? Go to ID at Xbox. See what happens. These guys are always willing to help. Let's see here. Let's see. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to scroll through the chat and try to pick up a few things. Will asks, hey, Cal, good to see you doing okay after Irma. Question for you. Do you see Microsoft delaying Halo 6 to next year and taking their time, or do they put it out in 2018? 6 came out. Halo 6 seems like it's coming out in 2018. It seems like it. I would like it to come out in 2019. I really do. I feel like this year, in my opinion, is a wash. They had a terrible year. Great year for multiplats. Great year for PlayStation. Great year for Nintendo. Terrible year for Microsoft when it comes to games. Cancellations. One of your biggest titles canceled. Studios closed down. Games that were supposed to release earlier didn't release. Now that's just me keeping it 100. If you like Halo Wars 2, that's great for you. I don't like RTSs. I don't play RTSs. You'll never catch me buying a real-time strategy game. So for me, that didn't affect me. There was no way I was buying Voodoo Vince. I was not buying Voodoo Vince. I don't know who approved that. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. I'm not bashing Xbox. I'm just saying there were better options to pick. There were. If you're going to remake an Xbox game, right, and you're going to approve one, why Voodoo Vince? Of all the games you could have chose, why Voodoo Vince? I know why. Because it's Phil's favorite game. It's one of his favorite games from OG Xbox. So I got to respect it. I get that. When you're the boss, that's a boss move. That's what you do. Hey, I like this game. Somebody wants to remake it. I got Voodoo Vince and Crimson Skies on the table. I'm not a fan of Crimson Skies, so I'm going to hop on Voodoo Vince. That's a boss move. It is a boss move at the end of the day. But you got fans clamoring for Mech Assault. You got fans asking for a new Crimson Skies. You even had people asking for a new Fusion Frenzy. You know, you got people asking for Brute Force, people asking for Blood Wake, people asking for a ton of other Xbox games. Even Blinks the Cat, for Christ's sake. Voodoo Vince, bro. So for me, it was a wash. Now, Crackdown was supposed to be a big title. Forza is looking amazing. Super Lucky Tail it's really fun. I can't wait to get my hands on that game. Played it at E3, great game. What they have coming up in the fall is awesome. It's an improvement. But overall, when you look at what they've done since they released from 2013 on, every holiday season, they've dropped a game that was either graphically impressive and played well, or something that was just, a really good game. Whether it was Halo, whether it was Ori, whether it was Sunset, whether it was Rise. A lot of people don't like Rise because it was repetitive, but Rise is a really good game. It really is, and a really good story. It was a really good game. You had Quantum Break. Some people don't like Quantum Break for whatever reason, but Quantum Break is actually a really good game. It actually really is, with a really good story. And the acting in it isn't bad at all. So you had titles every year leading up to this year, and this year was a poor year. Now, if you're a Forza fan, it's not a poor year, because this Forza is probably going to be the greatest Forza, at least in the motorsport in the motorsport franchise. We all know Forza Horizon 3 is probably one of the it's probably GOAT. Let's just keep it 100. It's probably GOAT, one of the greatest games of all time when it comes to racers. But Forza 7 is going to be amazing. I can't speak enough about this game. Rest of the year, after you get Super Lucky Tail and a few other titles, mostly relying on third party, Shadow of Mordor. Then you have the other games that Sony has marketing rights to, like Star Wars Battlefront, the Call of Duties. You got some really cool indie games that just came out, like Conan, Path of Exile. Great games coming over from the PC space. So it's not like Xbox doesn't have games. They do have games. They just don't have the big AAA blockbusters that they've had every year since they've released. And that's what people are looking for. So in 2018, I want them to not put Halo out because I want another franchise to be the flag for 2018. I don't know what it's going to be. If they have a new IP, I want that new IP to shine. I don't want it next to Halo. I don't want it next to I don't want it next to any of the big three. I just don't. I want it to shine on its own. We need that game that defines the generation for Xbox. And I think Microsoft is searching for it. And we're all waiting for it. So hopefully it comes out in next year or I think Halo comes out in 2019 with Gears in 2020, and maybe the new IP in 2021 on the new system if it doesn't come out next year. I just can't see them dropping. Well, I can't say that. They probably would do that. But, you know, I hope that they don't. All the Halo fans are killing me right now, but I hope they don't. I hope they take their time with Halo, really improve on the story, really improve on the campaign, and you already have a masterpiece with the multiplayer. Macafall asks, is Xbox coming to Tokyo Game Show, and what do you think they might show? Xbox is going to Tokyo Game Show. I think they have Dragon Ball Fighters, Code Vein, Black Desert. They're going to have a bunch of Japanese games there. They're working with some Japanese partners, marketing deals, nothing exclusive that I know of or heard of. They'll probably show off the X to the Japanese market, show off its design, show off how small it is, how it can stand up, the ergonomics of the platform, which I think is very important to the Japanese market. I can't stress that enough. I just think that what they've designed is just genius in itself. That much power in a box that thin. It's not like, you know, super thin, but thin for an Xbox. It's thin. It's damn near as thin as the Slim, a little bit thinner. So, you know, I just think that it's very smart on their part, and hopefully that will appeal to the Japanese market because they sorely need to recapture some fans in the Japanese market, whether it's guys from the military over there in Japan, the Japanese people themselves, Americans in Japan, whatever it may be. They need to recapture that market so they can recapture the Japanese publisher and stop being massacred when it comes to these games only releasing on Japanese platforms. You know, I almost feel discriminated against as an American, at least as a fan of Xbox. I almost feel second class in a way because of the way they've done the Xbox brand this generation. But that's Microsoft's fault. It's Microsoft's fault for the way they came out the gate, and they just didn't capture the Japanese fans this generation the way they did last gen with 360. Hopefully they can do that with the X, and we'll see what happens going forward. Let's see here. Zeppo1 says that any developer wants to make Shadowrun game like XCOM, so far is up to Microsoft. Yes, I did see that. We did report on that at ticgn.com. Make sure you stop at ticgn.com. That's where our news team reports all of our video game news. We do comic books, we do anime, we do movie reviews, Xbox, PC, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, Vita. We do it all for the gamers. So make sure you go ahead and support, sign up over there, hop on the newsletter, and we greatly appreciate the support. Shadowrun as an RPG would be great. I hope that they do that. Now, I'm no fan of XCOM because, again, I don't like strategy RPG. I don't like anything strategy. Just put anything when it comes to blocks or anything when it comes to me having to build a couple of pieces and then position them in a certain aspect. It's just not my cup of tea. My strategy, I like turn-based RPGs. I like to think about what my next move is, my plan of attack. And I get that's kind of like that, but I don't like having to move 3 spaces before I attack or move over here to position myself better. And then the next person, I just don't like strategy RPG. So I hope it's not a strategy RPG. I hope it's actually either Diablo style RPG or true RPG, like a third-person action adventure RPG. That would be great, something that Microsoft needs. But it'd be cool if they were able to get some type of Diablo-style RPG because it's very popular. Xbox truly is becoming a PC. And in my opinion, them bringing more PC games to Xbox is smart. Really, you really want to try to blend the lines between what Xbox and PC does. And if you can continue to bring some of those unique titles from PC over to Xbox, you got something going. But you got to make sure you lock these games up, I think. I think to make your platform unique, you can't just lock up the, first the console, exclusively in 2017. All of these like not hashtags, all of these like asterisk type exclusives and asterisk first release type things. You need to lock these things up and really get somebody in there that can see the potential of these games and push them. Hopefully they're able to do that. We'll see what happens. Sarasi says, how about Jade Empire 2 for Xbox One X with Anthem engine? That would be cool. That should be cool for exclusives. I would definitely be into anything BioWare makes. Me personally, I would sorely love for them to make a new Knights of the Old Republic, but with Disney in control of the franchise. My understanding is Knights of the Old Republic or the Knight series is no longer part of the lore. Like, it's not canon anymore. So they're not making those games anymore. My understanding, they're going in a different direction. But I would love for Microsoft to work with EA and BioWare and make a game like Mass Effect, but with a different story in a different setting. It could be space, it can be on Earth, it can be an entirely new world. Whatever it is, though, I truly hope that if they were to do something like that, that it is unique and it has the type of thing where selections matter. What you pick matters. Choices matter. And the combat system is amazing. BioWare is a great studio and a missed opportunity from Phil Spencer himself, who stated that they had an opportunity to buy BioWare and they didn't. And I will never, ever, ever understand why they didn't. When you had an opportunity with Mass Effect and Mass Effect was a success and BioWare was available, you had an opportunity to buy them and you did it. And that is Phil's one regret. And that's what he told us. So hopefully they work with companies like Bethesda. They work with they can't work with BioWare because that's EA at this point until that deal is up. That publishing deal is up. Maybe in the future they could work with Microsoft. We'll see what happens. But I think Microsoft right now is trying to work with Obsidian. They're trying to work with a few other independent studios. They should work with Project CD Red. That is a big independent studio. A lot of people don't realize that because they do so well with Witcher, but they should really work with them and either get these guys. I know they don't do exclusives, but I would pay these guys boatloads of money to either create a new franchise or reboot Fable. I can't stress this enough. If you are not going to make a new Lionhead or get the talent to rework on Fable, get these guys to make Fable. It just makes so much sense to have an open world or, an open world single player or open world co-op adventure and Fable. Well, like up to 4 people. Could you imagine playing Witcher with 4 people? Like, you guys are all going on a hunt, different classes and abilities, but it's still your character. Like, think of Destiny, where you can make, a different class of character, but it's 4 of you guys in Witcher. Somebody's a sword man, somebody wields a heavy weapon with armor, someone has a crossbow, someone has traps and magic or whatever, and you work together in this open world. but you can create the character. That's my only thing with Fable. I didn't like picking characters. I like to create my own. You create your own character and you play in this open world and let these guys do it and build the lore. What? That would be nuts. People will go crazy over CD Projekt Red game on Xbox. This is wishful thinking, of course. I'm just saying it would be amazing if they were able to do something like that. Absolutely. So, we'll see what happens, man. I have no idea. I know for the works in the bag. The only thing we can do, guys, is wait patiently. The X is coming. Games are coming. And if you're not enjoying what's out now, I don't know what to tell you. But there's a lot of good games out now. I'm enjoying myself with Destiny. It's a big improvement over the first one. Great job with Bungie and Destiny 2. They clearly have some flaws. They do have things to work on with the game. But overall, it is a much better experience than the first game. So my hat goes off to those guys, and hopefully they continue with their success, and we'll see what happens from there. So listen, man, I want to thank everybody for stopping out. I appreciate the questions. I'm glad I can answer them. Hopefully you guys appreciate my thoughts on some of your questions, and I will see you guys next week, Friday at 11 p.m. for another Super Podshots, or tomorrow with Anchorman V and B Money 101 for a new episode of Tick Mayor Podcast for Xbox. And again, you can find us on iTunes, listen to all our old content. You can go through our YouTube channel. We got a ton of interviews you guys can check out. Phil Spencer, Aaron Greenberg. We had Jeff Keighley on the show. We had the NBA Live guys on the show. We've had Ken Lobb on the show. If you can name it, we've had a great plethora of people on the show. Right now, I'm talking with Craig Duncan over at Rare. We're trying to set something up, find the right time to get him on the show to talk about Rare. What's going on with Rare? What's going on with Sea of Thieves? What is going on with Banjo and Conquer and all the games and franchises they own? Will we ever see them again? Tune in to Tick Podcast to find out. I can't wait for this interview to happen. I'm so excited about it. So again, I'm your host, Kelroy SKL, the last on the planet Xbox, and I will see you guys tomorrow or next week. Have a great night. I'm out of here. Peace.